Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Jeff Gurman joins us. He's the host of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas. He's also the investigative reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are delighted to welcome to the program for the first time, and I can't believe it's the first time, Jeff Gurman. He's the investigative reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and currently the host of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, which episode 6 dropped this morning as we're about to tape this show. And I'm only halfway through it, so I'm really excited to get back to my radio. But in the meantime, pleasure to have you on the program, Jeff.
Thanks, Sam. It's nice to be here.
Well,
how about you too, by the way?
Well, you're an investigative reporter, so don't dig too deeply, okay? Because I don't want those truths coming out. All right, so you're hosting the second season of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas. One of my clients, Pro Group Management, has been a sponsor of this from the beginning, and we love the show. It's over 800,000 downloads so far, so this has been a huge hit. And
actually, Sam, I think we're about to hit 1 million.
Are you up to 1 million? Really? Okay, well,
for the 2 seasons, probably in a day or two or so. They tell me. Yeah,
well, that was my forecast. That was my forecast from the beginning, was it was going to go to 1 million, so I'm glad I'm going to be proven right. So people should listen to the show because it's a fantastic show. They should listen to both seasons. It just gives the history of Las Vegas and the mob involvement in the properties and the entertainers. There's just so much going on. But I would actually like to talk about you because you have covered the mob, as you say in the podcast, for over 40 years. I have been a loyal reader of the Las Vegas Review-Journal and the Las Vegas Sun for over 40 years myself, so I have followed your career. And you were one of a group of outstanding reporters that Las Vegas had covering the mob. People like Jane Ann Morrison, Ned Day, John L. Smith, and yourself. So my first question is, what was your first assignment covering the mob, and did it scare the heck out of you?
Oh, geez, I'm trying to remember now. In those days, I started out, I was on the federal court beat. So there was a lot going on with the mob in federal court. You had Anthony Spilatro, who was, the overseer for the Chicago mob out here in Las Vegas. And I'm trying to remember, it probably would have been some sort of a court story, but then, you would see people like Spilatro. He'd occasionally be, show up himself, and you kind of want to try to talk to them, or, they wouldn't necessarily talk, directly, but you would try to cozy up a little bit, so because you wanted to have a little relationship, because that's our job, is to cover them and do the best we can with it. But I don't remember anything other than that. There was, obviously I had a lot of experiences over the years that were very how would I say it, learning experiences.
All right, well, share one.
Very quickly as a young reporter in those days, covering the mob.
All right, so share one of those experiences.
Well, let's see. One time, I'm trying to remember. There's been so many. Like, okay, let's say. So I'm a young kid, right? I'm just starting out. I'm a cub reporter. My roommate at the time, another young reporter, we decided, it's a Saturday night. We decided to go out. Hey, let's go to the. It was a bar that Tony Spilatro hung out. And it was near the Upper Crust restaurant that they also had an interest in. So we're at the bar, and lo and behold, Tony Spilatro's there, and he's there with Robert Conrad, a big Hollywood actor at the time. He was the star of the Wild Wild West series. And so we're just sitting there. It's just those two and us in the bar. It's a small little quaint bar, and there's a bartender and a waitress. So the waitress comes over. And so we say, hey, let's send a drink over to Tony Spilatro. We didn't know any better. And so the waitress goes over, talks to Spilatro, comes back and says, you don't send Mr. Spilatro drinks. He buys you drinks first. And so we learned right off the bat that this guy has, it was like he owned the town, basically, Spilatro. So that's an experience. I mean, it was nothing great, but it was eye-opening a little bit, running into this big mob figure.
Okay, were you scared?
No, I don't think. I think we were too young to be scared. I mean, I think, and really, in those days, the mob, they didn't want that kind of publicity going after a reporter. I mean, I had some experiences where they did, but for the most part, no, I don't. I mean, it was just something we just did. It just came naturally. You needed to maintain a relationship, or try to maintain a relationship with these people, since you're writing about them all the time.
Were you surprised as you learned more and more about the mob involvement in Las Vegas, of just how it had spread across the whole country, that involvement? So even though they were based in Las Vegas, it was an open town. So Chicago was involved, New York was involved, Kansas City was involved, LA was involved. I mean, it was an incredible network of mobsters across the country who are all operating in one fashion or another with their men in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to keep track of sometimes. There were so many. There were maybe 24 mafia families in the country at the time. One interesting thing, Chicago was the most dominant family then. They had struck a deal with the New York crime families to basically control Las Vegas, and they agreed not to get involved in any rackets back east, New Jersey and New York. So they were basically the main or the most dominant crime family. They all were here, they all were operating, but they all had to get permission from Chicago. So at the same time, though, I mean, so we knew we knew who the Chicago people were here, Tony Spilatro and his gang, but it was sometimes kind of hard to keep track of them all, because the feds would always come up with cases, the New York crime family cases, New England, Philadelphia once in a while, Detroit, but most of the action really focused or centered around the Chicago mob family.
You were based in Las Vegas, and we had the Gaming Control Board, we had the governor's office, and yet the feds did not trust the Nevada people, did they?
Well, basically, yeah, because the gaming authorities, they were not law enforcement. They were administrative, an administrative agency, the Gaming Control Board. So there was a natural, they naturally would not want to trust somebody that's not part of law enforcement. And I think because the mob had been so entrenched in Las Vegas that there was a fear among the feds that, maybe, are they being too cozy with the mobsters and not doing enough of what they should be doing to get them out of here. So there was a little bit of that, but there were people who also got along in gaming that got along with the FBI primarily. So, but for the most part, yeah, that's true that there was a distrust.
So when the mob, took over most of the hotels, they either funded them and ran them or bought people out and ran them. But they became part of Las Vegas society. So, was that difficult in breaking people away, to cover them as a reporter when they were actually part of society, and that might irritate regular citizens who were high-powered in Las Vegas at the time?
Well, it was a little complicated, yes. Some of these people, Mo Dalitz was down here, old-time mob figure, and was a major part. He was a big donor in the community, philanthropist, but he was also running a casino here and there. So we would run into a little flack sometimes, maybe when we would hear a name or a name like Dalitz or somebody would come up. But I think it took a while, for the community to realize that how entrenched the mob really was in Las Vegas. And in this period where we're talking about on season 2 of Mobbed Up, it's kind of the beginning of the really big push to get the mob out of here. And I think in the late 70s, mid 70s, late 70s, early 80s is when people really started realizing we got to do something here about these guys.
Do you think that Bob List and Harry Reid were given their due until now in terms of the fight that they put up to rid the properties of the mob?
I'm not quite sure. I don't think so, to be honest with you. And that's what we're trying to bring out a little bit in this series. One of the things I learned about this going back, I interviewed maybe 24 people. There were for this, and a lot of these people are they're aging right now. They're getting up there in years, but they were very dedicated to what they were to their jobs in those days. A lot of these people that I interviewed, there were people like Bud Hicks, Roger Trounday, and the governor and Harry Reid. They took some flack because you had all these wiretaps going on, and who knows what these mob figures were saying, bragging, and they were secretly picked up by the FBI. And in Harry Reid's case, that hurt him, but he survived it. But I think overall the state did much better than we think, or than we thought at the times when you start looking back at what was going on.
Yeah, and Harry Reid, his wife had a bomb put in the car. Fortunately, they discovered Bob List is wearing bulletproof jackets. I mean, it was a crazy time, and I don't think a lot of that was revealed at the time. But we've learned, since of just how dangerous it was. Let's take a break. We'll come back. I want to go back to Chicago for a minute when we come back.
I'm Jeff Gehrman, an investigative reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm your guide for Season 2 of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas.
You're in with every gangster and hoodlum in the United States.
I don't go for that, Mr. Kennedy. I don't go for that kind of action.
I was on television accused of fronting for the mob.
Subscribe to Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, Season 2, today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company, with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Jeff German. He's the investigative reporter for Las Vegas Review-Journal. He's the host of Mobbed Up, the Fight for Las Vegas. We're up to episode 6 here, and I'm thoroughly enjoying season 2 once again. And Jeff has covered the mob for over 40 years in Las Vegas, so not only an expert on it, but you've lived it, which is amazing. So let's go back to Chicago. Sam Giancana, obviously a major player in the Chicago mob, and a major player in things that happened here in Nevada, at the Club Calneva up at the lake, and also with what was going on in Las Vegas. But a question that after The Irishman came out, I happened to interview Harry Reid and Bob List right after that movie came out, and I'd seen it. And I talked to both of them about the alleged involvement of the Chicago mob with the Kennedy election, the election of President Kennedy, and the allegations that the mob secured the election because Joe Kennedy, the president's father, had been a bootlegger, and so he had been involved in the mob in various ways. That their role was to help get John Kennedy elected president, and they weren't expecting, that Bobby Kennedy, as the Attorney General, would come after the mob the way he did. And there are reports in several books that say that the mob was behind the assassination of John Kennedy. Harry Reid said he'd read the Warren Commission report. There was nothing in there that backed that up. Bob List would not back that up. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, that was a little bit before my time, but I think there was a little bit of credence to that. I mean, they also used, I think that Jimmy Hoffa was somehow involved as well, the head of the Teamsters Union, and he's a big subject of our podcast. I mean, and of course you had all these conspiracy theories after Kennedy was assassinated, tying it into the mob. So I would not discount that, to be honest with you. But I'm not an expert in that. It was a little before my time. But just from my knowledge of how the mob works, I would not be surprised.
Let's change to another story that you brought up here in the break. So at one point you were sucker punched. By whom and why?
Well, let's see. This was back in, 81 or so. And I had written a piece about a guy by the name of Cy Friedman, who was a Justice Court warrant officer in Las Vegas. And he was collecting campaign money for the sheriff at the time. And also he was collecting he was collecting juice money for the mob. So he's doing all of this. He's on the public payroll. He's collecting campaign contributions for the sheriff. He's working for the mob. I do a piece on this, and within a couple of weeks, people started letting the air out of my tires of my car. My back windshield gets smashed. I get threatening phone calls, saying you better watch who you're writing about. And it culminates in there was, like I say, within a couple of weeks, there was a major retirement party on the Las Vegas Strip at the Sands in the ballroom, and it was for the longtime clerk of the court in Las Vegas. And so I'm sitting at the back bar having a drink, And Cy Friedman walks up, and I'd had a couple drinks. I was feeling good. And I said, Cy, when are you going to call off the dogs? Because I'm kind of mad. All these things are happening to me. And he looks at me, recognizes me. And this guy is he was an ex-professional boxer on top of it. And he recognizes me, and he has a drink in his right hand. He throws the drink in my face and then hits me with a left hook. And he had a ring on his hand, and it caught me under my lip, and I ended up having to get 4 stitches. So he whacked me, and I tried to fight back, but it turns out head of security for the Sands was right there, right behind me. I had no idea, and he broke it all up. And so I ended up I go get stitches, and it was it was kind of a crazy thing. But I saw it as a badge of honor, to be honest with you, something like that. So at least I knew finally that what was going on with it. That he was the one that was doing it, or he was behind it.
And at least you knew that people were paying attention to your stories.
Yeah.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back with Jeff German after this timeout.
Enjoy exceptional value and a comfortable atmosphere at the all-new Nevada Steak at Tamarack Casino. Great food, fine wines, and delectable desserts.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you. But we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Serving Our Kids Foundation's mission is to serve homeless, at-risk, and food insecure children in grades K through 8 throughout Southern Nevada. During the pandemic, Serving Our Kids has seen a 42% increase in the number of children served, providing more than 4,500 meals to kids in over 100 schools weekly. Serving Our Kids is powered by community support and volunteers. To learn how you can help, visit servingourkids.org.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Enjoy exceptional value and a comfortable atmosphere at the all-new Nevada Steak at Tamarack Casino. Great food, fine wines, and delectable desserts.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with the host of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas. It's a great podcast. You can find it anywhere where podcasts are available. Jeff German is the host. He's also the investigative reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I remember interviewing Phil Satry a couple of years ago, who's now the chairman of Wynn Resorts. And I talked to him about why, when he was head of Caesars, that he didn't go into Macau. And that was one of the few big gaming companies that did not get into Macau. And he said he was very concerned because of all the criminal activity in Macau, that Caesars could end up losing their licenses because of being in Macau. That didn't affect, obviously, MGM or Wynn and Las Vegas Sands, who went in there and obviously made a ton of money. And, you know, it's been interesting to watch, you know, the mob being thrown out of the casino industry in Las Vegas, but do they still exist in Las Vegas operating other rackets? Are they involved in loan sharking? Are they involved in prostitution? What is the involvement, if any, of the mob in Las Vegas today?
To be honest, I think it's pretty limited right now. I mean, a lot of that went away after Anthony Spilaccio was murdered back in outside of Chicago back in '86. Chicago basically kind of withdrew, and you had other other crime families here, and people were still doing a little loan sharking, And there's probably some of that going on, illegal bookmaking. But for the most part, Sam, it's a lot different now. I mean, you have other forms of organized crime. You still have old-time mobsters who've retired here and they hang out here, and but it's really not like the old days. To be honest with you, I think there's so many other criminal organizations now. You have Asian crime families. You have what they call the old Eastern Bloc country crime families back there, who have a foothold here on different kinds of rackets, fraud, and things like that. But the old traditional La Cosa Nostra is somewhat is pretty limited.
Well, that's where we have to leave it for today. I am so pleased to have had you on the program to talk about all this. What an exciting time in Las Vegas, and what an incredible story, and so many millions of people around the world love these mafia tales. I mean, we're glad that they're not as powerful as they used to be, but we do love the stories. And Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, the podcast, is just terrific. You have done a wonderful job, and I think it just adds to the credibility of the program that you have covered the mob in Las Vegas for over 40 years. And I've enjoyed reading your work over that period of time. And please come back and let's talk more.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam. It went fast.
Thank you. And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Don't forget, another way of watching Nevada Newsmakers is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nevada Newsmakers, on YouTube. We'll see you on the next broadcast.